My guest is Alejandro Mercado. He's a drummer. He plays with John 5, and he's also been playing with ALLAN Parsons Project, and in the studio with him when he does his masterclass series. And he's from Los Angeles, California, and I am glad to have him on the show today. It's a kind of a cool story. I met him when he bought a T-shirt from me, and I sent the wrong one, and I couldn't see. It was during the time when my eyes bled so bad that I could hardly use a phone. And I asked him if he'd be nice enough to buy another shirt at a really reduced price. I sent him that and all these CDs. We've been friends ever since, about, over a year now. And he's a fan of Dean and Dr. Mastermind, and he's a really great guy. I am really pleased to have him on the show today. Hey, nice shirt you got on.
Oh, thanks, Matt. One of my favorite bands here.
All right. We had Dean on the show last Friday. We're talking to Alejandro, I think it's Alejandro, Mercado, drummer for John 5 and ALLAN Parsons Project, and a few more. The guy is amazing, and been a friend of mine since I sent him the wrong T-shirt by mistake.
That's right.
Yeah, I appreciate your friendship, and I'm glad you could come on the show. So what's going on with John? You're going on tour? Yeah,
we're actually getting ready. We've been rehearsing nonstop. It's pretty killer. We got a couple new tunes in the set. It's going to be like, it's from January 26th to March 1st, I believe.
Where are you going?
It's going to be a U.S. run, so just here in the States.
Are you coming to Portland?
I believe so.
Maybe I can beat you this time.
Yeah.
I can see a lot better than when the last time you were here. As you can tell, I've got no sunglasses on. I'm using a computer. Things are looking up.
Hell yeah, man.
So, let's see what else. So, how did you start playing with John? We're talking about John 5, if you don't know. He's a great guitar player, and he took Mick Mars' place in Motley Crue, and that kind of screwed up your plan for a while.
Oh man, you know what? That was just such an exciting time. Some stuff was put on hold, because John's transition into Motley Crue, but I'm just so happy for him. What a kick-ass gig, Motley Crue.
Right, in stadiums with Def Leppard. That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to answer your question, the way that the gig with John 5 came about was kind of, it was a little wild. So he had put a feeler out online that he was looking for a drummer, and it was on Facebook. He made like a post, and there was this guy in town that holds auditions for artists, and this post has been around at that time for, I don't know, like a month already, and there were all these drummers. Like every drummer and their uncle was on this post commenting their info, and I figured, he's probably already got a drummer, so I'm kind of late to the party here. So I let that be, and I went out, and a buddy of mine was mentioning, hey man, John 5's looking for a drummer. And I told him, yeah, I saw the post, but he's probably got a drummer by now. Everybody was inquiring about it. And he said, no, man, I'll give you his email. You got to reach out to him. if you don't reach out to him, I'll reach out to him for you. And I said, all right, fine. I'll take that in the dark and I'll do it. Later that night, I get a phone call from Glenn Sobel, who is Alice Cooper's drummer. And he's like, hey, man, John Five's looking for a drummer. I'm like, whoa, shit. You know, I'm just talking this. And he's like, yeah, I put your name in with his producer. So, you know, you should be call, you know, talk to him about it. And that was just like a weird series of events right there. Next thing you know, I got, you know, John's email. I sent him an email. Within like 30 minutes, I get a phone call, and it's at this time like late. It's like midnight. And I get the phone call, and I'm like, nobody calls this late. That's got to be John. And sure enough, it was John. And he was like, dude, I checked your stuff out. We got to, you know, you got to come out and jam, and we got to try this out.
That's great. You don't have to, you know, how many times you got to tell you? Twice? Like the tattoo says, better late than never.
That's right.
Yeah. So that, wow, you got an audition from Facebook. That's probably the only positive thing I can think of from Facebook. That's pretty good.
Isn't that wild? And,
yeah.
And with the help of, I mean, Glenn, you know, he's such a awesome guy, man. He's always had my back, and for him to go out of his way, I never, you know, I didn't ask him to do something like that, you know, like he just decided I'm going to tell him, you know, to check you out and give it a shot, and really appreciate that, you know.
That's what friends are for. That's how I got the Vicious Rumors. I talked to Jeff Thorpe, and he said, we were having problems with our singer. And I go, I know a guy that sings as good as Carl, who you're trying to replace for decades. And he goes, I don't believe it. And I said, look, I'll email you some links to him singing. And then if you want his phone number, call me back. And within 20 minutes, he called me back, and Brian Allen joined the band. He's also, from that, he was in with the guys in Disturbed, and then he was in a band with Cliff, Metallica's first, you know, Cliff, the bass player, his band Trauma. And then I just noticed he's back with Vicious Rumors now. They're going on tour with Raven. But that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is, you know, I was prepared for our jam, and again, I already knew he'd been through, you know, a lot of drummers, so I was happy and excited to jam with him at first. And I get home, and I get a phone call from John, and he's like, "Hey, man," he just kind of sounded bummed out. And you know what? Yeah, you did great. I just want to tell you, unfortunately, you got the gig.
Yeah, that, you know, he's probably suffering from drummer audition fatigue. And we tried that with, you know, Jamie St. James and Pete Holmes were Wild Dog's first drummers. And we tried like 20 people, and nobody matched up. The closest guy was my friend Bryce Van Patten. And then me and the guy from Malice, Jay, and our friend Kip, we went down to see Dean. He was 16, playing in a band called The Enemy. And the guy played Shoot Shoot by UFO. And I didn't like that song until I heard it with double bass. And it was amazing. And we got to be friends with him. And a week later, we did the Malice demos. And about 6 months later, he called me up and said, "Hey, man, can I come and audition?" And he was even more hyper than on the interview. And he came over and totally destroyed Jamie St. James' pristine Ludwig kit, broke the ghost pedal, you know, those ghost pedals. They're pretty heavy duty. He broke the footboard in half when he kicked the hole through the kick drum. He totally destroyed the snare, ruined all the heads, cracked 2 cymbals, and then said, "Okay, man, I gotta go." After 20 minutes, and he just did it great. And, you know, sometimes magic happens, and obviously it happened with you. How long have you been playing with him?
Man, like right after the pandemic, really, like when, everything was like locked down, like 2 years now, something like that.
Wow. And so you've done a couple of tours with him. Right? Have you done any records?
No. I've done some singles with him, but I don't think he's looking to do like a full length anytime soon. But
people don't do that these days. The big people put out songs, and you go song by song. Man, mine's two distributors don't even carry physical products anymore that I use, and I know a lot of them are not being able to make payroll, so they're only doing downloads and stuff like that. I think the industry is changing.
Oh yeah, totally.
Even the guys who replicated my CDs were the guys from Universal. My first producer from the Ravers, he hooked me up with the guys that replicate CDs for Universal. And I called him and said, Matt, we're going out of business. When video games, which was our biggest client, went to downloads and software went to downloads, now we just can't afford to stay open. So what you see, what I got up there, that's it. I didn't think that would, the music industry really has changed. I got an interview with Mike Varney I'm going to talk about with him. But so anyway, let's you're a DW endorser, aren't you?
I play DW.
Awesome. And use their pedals?
Oh yeah, everything. Their stands, their drums, pedals, my throne, everything. Yeah, love them.
And what kind of do you use? The sticks, the head sticks that you use. I saw him first in a Matt Sorum drum clinic here in Portland, Oregon. Actually, it was at the college I ended up working at for 20 years, Portland Community College, in the gym. It was that guy was great, way better than I thought. And I thought Pete Holmes came up and was there. I think everybody on your level is a great musician. People don't know that. But what's that? You also you told me about these pads that you could actually plug into like Lisa's drum brain or something. What are those called?
Yeah, so they're like mesh pads, and you clip them onto your real drum set. You don't have to take the drum head off, and it just clips on right to the top of a drum, and you plug the cable into the pad, and then could be a drum module or a sampling pad or whatever you got, and you turn your acoustic kit into an electronic kit just like that. They're made by Artom, which is the moon gel pads, the dampener pads. Yeah. And the black hole mesh head system. It's pretty badass.
It sounds pretty badass. You were telling me about that before you actually got them. And let's see. Hey, I asked Dean this. Do you use in-ear monitors? You play to a click track, don't you?
Yeah. These days, like everybody's using in-ear monitors. It's just the way to go. It's like a studio recording. You got it right in your ears instead of trying to listen to a wedge.
Yeah. Dean said when he played with Ozzy, he said, I had these two subwoofers and then these horns that just blasted my head off. And because I played on stages like 2,000 people, and unless your monitors are dialed in, you just can't hear shit.
Yeah. You know what? I still prefer a mix of both. Like in my ears, for my ear mix, I like click and whatever tracks, I'll have just that in my ears, and maybe a little bit of bass drum, not really any of the drums. But on the wedge, I like on the wedge to have everything else, guitar, bass. That's the kind of mix I like. I don't like to have everything just mumble jumbled in my ears. It's, if I got click, as long as I got the click track, I'm on, I'm in my world back there. I can't go wrong. The drums, I don't need to hear them because I'm playing them already. I'm pretty easy with my in-ear mix.
How about a butt kicker? I've seen those things and people use those. Do you know what that is?
I got one.
So what are you playing to? There's so many people. I don't want to go see a band that plays some pre-recorded tracks. So it's like I said, I worked as a stagehand, and everybody does that. And bands even have like a whole group underneath the stage playing along with them. It's, arenas are big places to fill with sound. And so it's like you can't do the same thing at a club that you can at an arena and charge $300 a ticket and expect everything to be great.
Totally. No, I get that. And is it awesome when you get a group of insanely talented musicians that could sing the harmonies perfectly, and they got 12 musicians on stage to they got the cowbell guy and the flute guy, because they can afford. That's bad. Not everybody can do that. So, and nowadays touring is expensive, man. So you got to have the tracks. It's just the way it is, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the singer's not singing or the guitar player's not playing his guitar or what have you. It's just background music that adds to the overall sound, and it's really not that big of a deal. I think people just make a bigger deal of it than it is.
Yeah, it's the 21st century, man. I watched the Jetsons. People were probably flying cars on cartoons back then. And, Motley Crue got a lot of fluff about, they played it because of Mick Mars, but it can't all be Milli Vanilli, and whatever it takes to make that huge sound in a stadium thing too. You'll cheat the audience. Like my girlfriend doesn't like to go. She'd hate a Led Zeppelin concert or The Who because, they jam. But she goes, I want to hear the song just like it is on the record. I don't want to hear I like to see the musicians do the things they don't do on the record. But I'm 64. I came up in the 70s. My first show was Canned Heat in 1970. I was 11 years old. And there's only 2 bands on the bill. The place is always sold out. And at the Paramount, the only metal band that has played our Paramount Theater, which is called the Schnitzer, is King Diamond.
All right. Like
in years. Queensrÿche I saw in 1998, but other than that, there's been no rock bands that have done it. And so I knocked Robert Plant down in 1993. Wild Dog's manager was working his lights. He was a lighting director, and I went down to see him, and I'm cutting across the stage, and it was dark out and dark in the afternoon, and I pull this wing curtain back and crash into this guy. And I look down and I go, oh, wow, you're the dude. And I help him up, and he's much taller than I was. And I said, you're much taller than you are on TV, Mr. P. And he starts laughing because that's a line from a movie called Being There with Peter Sellers. And he goes, oh, are you a Goon fan? The Goon Show. I had no idea, and I just said yes. I'd later found out from my boss who grew up in England, the Goon Show was like the forerunner to the Monty Python troupe. And he was really nice about it. I knocked his woman down, too. So bowling for champions. I knocked down Robert Zander in 1980. They were coming to a club after playing a gig with Saxon. And Cheap Trick was. And so we go down there and we're waiting. I always got to go to the bathroom, and I go and take a pee, and somebody says, they're here. So I finish up and I run out the door. And as I'm running out, Robin Zander was coming in, and I footballed him onto the floor, and I helped him up. And I said that too. That's where he you're the guy, and helped him up because it happens all the time. I'm short. He was a really small guy. You know, Journey's going, they're going to be on the stadium tour of the summer is Def Leppard, Journey, Steve Miller, Heart, and Cheap Trick. Mm-hmm. He goes, and Dean said, oh man, I love Cheap Trick. I saw him with Kiss. I saw him too the first time they came to an arena. And he said, the bass player gave me a Rickenbacker bass last time we toured with them. He goes, those are great guys. This will be fun.
Oh,
that was a funny interview, huh? That's Dean. If you meet him, he's like that in person. That's not an act. He's not on drugs. When he is, he's more like a mosquito on acid.
You know, I've met Dean in passing, and he's just what a ball of energy, man. You know, he's awesome, sweet guy, but he was. I met him at like a jam at Lucky Strike here in LA, and it was. I mean, it was Dean's night. You know, he sang some songs. He did some Revolution Saints, and everybody wanted to say hi to Dean. And him, you know, being like my all-time favorite drummer, man, I was like, I got to say hi to him. But he was trying to just get the fuck out of there, you know? And I'm like, Dean, hey. And he's like, hey, buddy, you know, nice to meet you. Bye-bye. And I'm like, yeah, I got to say hi to Dean, dude. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's him. And yeah, I mean, when I watch you play, you must have watched some Wild Dogs videos or some Dean videos, because you do the things with the hands, and a lot of those riffs I recognize.
Yeah, most of what I listened to growing up was just, you know, the recordings with Dean on them, all the Shrapnel stuff. When my dad took me to see Journey with Jeff Scott Soto, I got to see Dean perform live, and that just changed. That was a game changer for me.
And he sings too.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jeff Scott Soto. We played with Yngwie in 1985 in Sacramento, and I love Yngwie. I mean, I was in heaven at the sound check. But Jeff said, I hate this gig. And he offered, he goes, you want the gig? You won't have, they turn you down, so it won't matter. I go, I can't sing this stuff like you. He goes, it won't matter. Nobody can hear you anyway. But, yeah, I'm a huge Yngwie fan. Yngwie was my first choice for Dr. Mastermind guitar player, but he was busy. So Mike pitched me Paul Gilbert, who lives here in Portland, Oregon now, and maybe he'll show up to your show. But Paul was too Van Halen-y, and I really wrote the lead parts for a neoclassical guy. And Kurt James is a guitar player who took Yngwie's place in Steeler, and he worked out great. I love that record. Thank you for being a fan.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You have the wrong shirt on.
No, man, like that music is, there's just so much good. I mean, the music crushes, and drumming wise, it's just, there's so much to learn from. Because Dean, when he was that age, he just full of energy, just expressing himself behind the drums every second. You know, it's drum lick, and cool double bass groove, crazy drum lick. You know, my whole thing was, Dean, play your heart out. I'm not going to give you. We didn't rehearse. He learned my song from the demos, and I showed him the new lead parts. I said, just go nuts. And I wrote a song for a drum solo. And the first 3 drum solos, the engineer was trying to milk us for money. And, oh, did you want me to record that? Yeah, we want you to record it, because
there's about 20 people in the studio. And when Dean gets around people, he's just even moron. Not a moron. He's just, he's up to 12. And it was, we didn't get the best solo, but, that was just, and the Wild Dogs, I wrote all those songs for the third Wild Dogs album that didn't know I wasn't going to be on. And, they didn't tell me twice that they were replacing me. I heard it from other people. And they told me, your songs are too heavy. They're not commercial enough. We don't want to do that kind of music. And then they come out with Rain of Terror.
And so let me ask you, you've since performed with Wild Dogs since that. Have you had to sing some of the songs off Reign of Terror?
They made us do Reign of Terror. They said you have to play one song off the album. And I don't sing like that because when I sing, it does not sound like a bobcat caught in a barbed wire fence like that guy. I don't screech or sound like a baby that's being beat up by a hockey stick. And so we did it, but it's a really crappy version. It's on YouTube. No, I know my limitations. I'm not really a singer. The Wild Dogs was the first band I was a actual just lead singer. I sang lead in bands I'd play guitar in, and I'm mainly a guitar player, and that turned to bass. I started playing bass when I went to this jam, and I was about 15, and all these guys were late 20s, and I sat out all night long, and the bass player said, "Hey, do you play bass?" "Sure." And he handed me his Rickenbacker and said, "I got to leave. Go ahead and play. Put the bass in the case when you're done." I got to play the rest of the night. The next week, he goes, "If you like this, I'll leave my stuff here. You can come back next week and you can be the bass player." That's how I started. I thought, hey, if I play bass, I can play all the time.
Yeah.
And because there's about a dozen guitar players at this house, and it was in the 70s out in the country when the country wasn't that far out from my house. But, but the guitar player that I had, Robert Robinson, this last lineup, I played with some great guitar players, Michael Brown and Pete Laughlin, the original drummer that moved to L.A. with Malice. He was the drummer. And that band was great. We wrote songs and recorded. And then the next time I got Robert Robinson and Troy Stutzman, and he was more like Jamie St. James on drums. So we did the songs, but I just, after the last gig in 2018, I thought, this doesn't do justice to the original. It's just, people think, oh, Wild Dogs. Now, this isn't it. It's me being a drunk, crazy guy, a punk rock singer with a metal band. But Dean said, "Man, we're the show. You were the show." And I said, yeah, but when I turn around and watch him play, I would stop singing. Because it was really fun. He'd throw sticks up, and this is when he couldn't afford to buy drumsticks. He'd throw about 2 dozen out in the audience.
Yeah.
I'm out of sticks. We got to stop. Where do they go? Out there.
I got the DVD from that show. It was on YouTube, but now you get it on DVD, and I got it, and I remember watching it and just seeing Dean just going nuts with the stick twirls and the juggling the sticks. I mean, so impressive, man. And he catches that, he's juggling the sticks, still catching everyone. He doesn't drop a stick. Dude, I mean, the precision. I'm telling you, that guy is from another planet.
Yeah. Our first show, though, he was a little late coming into roles or going out, finishing up. So we he got better. But, pretty fun guy to watch. And he doesn't stop. First time he would stay at my house when he first joined the band. And, man, the guys hated him. The guitar player. I said, "What do you think?" And I'm expecting them to go, "He's great." And he goes, First off, he's too fat. He's too loud. He overplays. He's always joking. He never takes things serious, and we'll never be able to control him. And I said, sounds like the perfect guy to me. Can you think of anything bad to say? And I just basically forced him in the band. And so he'd stay at my house. And, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. I used to get up really early. And I look over at the bed he's sleeping on in my room. And his feet are going like double bass. And I go, are you up? And he was sleeping. I woke him up. He goes, what? I go, well, your feet were going while I thought you were up. No, I always do that. And I had to share a bed with him on our first road trips. And man, he sleeps like a sandwich in a Campbell Soup's ad, like diagonally. So if I would have been a midget like, Brad Williams, I would have fit perfectly in the bed. Do you know who Brad Williams is?
Brad Williams? No.
Oh, he's funny as hell. He's one of the new comics. Bert Kreischer.
Oh, yeah.
And Sebastian Maniscalco. Did you see him in Vegas?
You know what? No. He was promoting some show, and I remember seeing the advertising, and I was with my family, and my dad recognized it. I'm like, dude, we got to go see him, man. This guy is killer. But no, unfortunately, we didn't get to catch Sebastian. So
he's from Chicago. You're from Chicago. You sound almost Italian, but you say you're Mexican. What's the deal?
I don't know, man. You're going to have to, it's just product of my environment. Like growing up, my first language was Spanish, and learning how to speak English, you just kind of go with what you hear. And at that age, you're surrounded by people that, they all talk like this and this and that. And then, you got movies on all the time, like, and shows like Sopranos, you got Casino, Goodfellas. And,
tell me about it.
Yeah. So you go with what you.
That's where it came from.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll never forget. I've told this story, and it always stayed with me, that when I was learning to speak English, like I said, you just kind of what you hear. And I remember it was first or second grade, and this kid, the teacher was like, "Hey, all right, we're gonna share our favorite foods." And we went around, and it got to me, and I said, I love chocolate, and this kid started laughing, and he points at me. He's like, oh, you listen to the way he said it? He says chocolate. And I'm like, I didn't hear anything wrong with it. And it's that Chicago accent, Chicago, chocolate. And I remember just feeling like shitty after that. I was like, why is this kid making fun of me, man? Like, it's just the way I say it. And during the school year, we had turns to bring in treats for the class. And throughout the school year, I found out he was allergic to chocolate. So, it was my turn to bring in treats, and I brought in chocolate chip cookies. And I'm passing them around, and I get to his desk. I'm like, chocolate cookie? It's like, no, I'm allergic.
Give him the runs.
And yeah, I know. It was just funny. I'll never forget that.
Hey, it could be Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I drove a van, and there was some girl that lived in Madison, and I've met a lot of people from there since. I get now. eBay puts the phone number of the people that buy CDs and stuff, and so I call them up to say thank you for buying the T-shirts and CDs. And I'm big in the Gracie Belt. Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin. God, she would think nothing of driving back to Madison or the weekend and back. I don't That's a while. That's a long ways. Hey, I forgot to ask you, what kind of drum heads do you use?
Evans. Yeah.
The hydraulic heads or?
What's that?
The hydraulic ones with oil in them, or what kind?
No. I've tried the hydraulic ones like when I was a kid. But that's not really the sound I like. I usually go with coated. I love just that coated sound. But I just tried these ones. They're called black chrome. They're like they look like hydraulic heads, but they're not. They're pretty much like a clear drum head. They're all black. There's something special to them. I don't know the plies or whatever, but I like the sound of those. So I'm going to be using those on this upcoming tour.
Yeah, I use pins. I've been playing drums since I was 5. My grandpa was a swing drummer, and he saw me like beating on my knees, and he gave me drumsticks. And then by age 7, I was taking drum lessons. But I've come to like pinstripes or Remo Emperors.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah,
those are.
But for my kick drums, I use Aquarian super kicks because they don't break. And I used to supply the drums for my drummers, and they never break.
You know what? Yeah, no, that's true right there. The super kicks are probably one of the most used drum heads for the bass drum. I used to use Aquarian for a little bit. You know, I gave them a shot, but I found like the bass drum, the Super 2 kick, I used that. That always kept up. But like the toms and the snare, for some reason, like those drum heads like lose their they just lose their magic like so quickly. They kind of lose their tuning. They just kind of sound flat over, you know, a week or something, like a month. If you're playing them consistently, whereas like Evans and even Remo, they just hold up, man. I played on some old Evans heads that like they still sound killer, you know. So
let's see. I think we're kind of running out of time. So my meeting was only for an hour, and so I'm getting a message that you're over time. So we probably cut this off. So I want to say thank you so much. It's very nice to meet you in person, as much as it can be. And this Zoom thing is really great. You know, I'm home alone a lot. I can't drive yet. I still can't see well enough. And people are, man, nuts driving. So I don't want to cause an undrunk accident. And if I got pulled over, my talking, they probably take me in. I've already had a DUI in 1989. I don't need another.
Oh, brother. It
changed my life. I drank 5 pints of vodka and decided I needed a quart of beer for the chili my future ex-wife was making. And I decided instead of walking across the street to a store, I decided to drive 30 blocks up to a Safeway because it was 20 cents cheaper. I lived in a warehouse that had concerts, and I had practice places, and that cost $500 a month. It was on the same street as the theater that you played on when you were here in Portland last, Hawthorne. Yeah. Now the place costs $10,000 a month for the floor.
Ooh, that's nuts.
Oh, everything is nuts here. It used to be a cheap place to live, but not anymore. But you played with Alan Parsons also. Are you the guy on the masterclass things?
I did his most recent masterclass, and I work at his studio. I do studio work there, and I get to jam with him occasionally, and it's pretty badass, you know. We did that On the Blue cruise. Was it earlier last?
Last spring.
Yeah, something like that. That was awesome. And man, what an experience. Like I got that gig from his drummer that was just in the band. And he was like, hey, I know you're a fan of Alan's and, you know, you're a drummer. So I figured I'd ask you if you want to do this on the Blue Cruise. And I'm like, hell yeah. And it just happened like so quick, man. No rehearsals. I had a talk with Alan, and it was like maybe a 1-minute phone call. He was like, hey, Alex, so you play drums? I'm like, yeah, all right. So you want to do this on the Blue Cruise? I'm like, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to get some flights, and we'll see you there. We're not going to rehearse, so be ready, okay?
Yeah, trial by fire.
Oh, my goodness. But yeah, I mean, the cool thing was I had enough time to prepare. So I came in, I remember I bought the live CDs. You know, I didn't do no Spotify because there's some recordings that aren't available on Spotify. So I just went online and I bought the CDs, brought them home, put them on my phone. And I just watched some live videos. I got the different endings. I saw what was most recent, the arrangements. And yeah, man, we got together at a table before the first show at some lounge. And I'm just tapping on my knees. And we went through a couple endings and, you know, the beginning of a couple songs. And dude, I mean, I've never had so much fun playing like without any rehearsal. Like with any band, it just went so smooth personally. I don't know, you know, somebody else might have thought different, but for me, I had so much fun and I didn't feel any pressure. I just soaked it in because my parents love Alan Parsons. So to me, I was just back there like, no shit, man. Like, this is awesome.
Sometimes those unrehearsed things turn out best because it's inspired and it's like I'm having a good time and it inspires you. You met Mike Savoya on that cruise too, the photographer with the blue beard.
Did. And I told him about you. Yeah, because you told me, hey, go say hi. His name's Mike Savoya. He's going to be the guy over there. And I went up to him and I said, hey, yeah, Matt McCourt told me about you. It's like, oh yeah, dude, Matt. Yeah. So I got to say what's up to him real quick.
The first pictures he took at a concert were wild dogs. That's where he started. He said, you know, he's Journey's tour photographer.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, and he's great. He's done everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask you about, you know, John has all those video screens on stage with some weird stuff going on. I've watched a lot of the videos, and looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. It's a cool setup for those screens. You know, they're like guitar cabs or something with these, you know, TVs in them. Yeah, it's pretty unique. It's going to be different this time around. I think we're going to have like a wall of some of those screens and amps. So I'm going to be in like the center, and outside on my outside on each side, it's going to be like screens and amps. So it's going to look pretty cool.
Cool. Hopefully I will get there this time. Maybe you can play. Maybe you'll be booked at the Roseland, which is a lot closer to my house. But I think I'm getting a "you gotta go" sign. So thank you so much for coming on, and really great to meet you on video. And you've been a great friend, and especially where I really needed it. So I appreciate that. And best of luck to you. And I'll put up a DW and Evans and a head. I'll promote those at the end for the YouTube video, and it'll be up on YouTube and all the audio podcasts. So thank you very much for being on the show.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it.
And thanks for telling me about it.
You got it, brother.
You say that like, tell me about it like in Chicago Gangster.
Hey, tell me about it.
Yeah, I thought about that and thought, hey, that'd be a good title. And awesome, man. Thank you so much. And I won't take up any more time. And thank you for coming on.
Of course, man.
Alejandro Mercado, great drummer. We'll see you out on the road with John. 5.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Hey, you too, brother.
I'm trying. See you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Tell me about it, and I'll tell the world.